Okay, good morning, grade 12. Morning, you guys. I am Mrs. Tiara Tue. I'm from Figha Park High, and I'm going to do the revision for life science. And I just want to stress that this is for the Free State. This is the marks we got. That's going to be in a paper for paper 1. The paper will be written on 6 June, and there was a virtual revision lesson on 19 May. So if you didn't watch it, go after YouTube link from your teacher. They will send it to you. Ask them if they don't send it to you guys, because they actually do make sure here and there's things that's going to be exactly in the paper. We are going to go through everything. You also have the notes. It's the same that's on the board. So don't worry about writing down. Only when I say something's important or you have to make sure that you do it in a certain way. I am a marker. I'm a marker for more than 10 years for paper 1, so I know what's important. So let's make sure we're going to start off with reproduction in vertebrates. The last guys that's coming in, there is notes there if you have it. Okay. So first of all, I want you to all know and see something. Headings are important. If you don't start with your headings, you're not going to know what the question is about. So first of all, reproduction in vertebrates, there's only 5 things they can ask you. You will also see that it's only 14 marks. So we know that there are certain things that I like to ask, and usually they will give you a case study about some kind of animal, and you will be, or you will have to be able to tell what kind of fertilization is going to take place, external, internal. You are going to have to know which kind of ovipary, ovovivipary, or vivipary, what if they say it's live birth, or there's an egg, or the egg is inside and it's going outwards. You are going to have to know what are the amniotic egg. We do not have to draw it, but we must be able to label it and give every function. So you will see on the notes that I gave you, I gave the main functions, the things that we want to see on our memos. Then also the kind of development. Please underline or mark development, because we don't always see that the children understand what a question asks. Development is about whether they can look after themselves, or they're precocial or not, because they do not have their eyes open or they are not able to protect themselves. And then parental care, be careful for the case studies, read through it, and make sure that you see the parental care in there. So in yellow, it's just the things that we can see that's more important, what we want to stress. But external fertilization usually is in water. Remember, we have gametes. Gametes can swim, but if we don't have water or we don't have a fluid, it means that they are not going to be able to survive. Usually this will tell you there is a lot of gametes, and nowadays in life science, they will say something like 2,000 sperm cells were released. Be sure to use the right amount in the answer. The memo will state there is external fertilization. Why? Because 2,000 sperms were released. So make sure that you use the studies or you use the sentences that they gave you. But if you look at external fertilization, you know it's life science, you know you will probably give either a case study or a picture. That's the way we work. So external is outside, many gametes, make sure of the amount. There's less chance of survival, because if they want you to explain, I always tell my own kids, if they say explain, there must go alarm out in your head, because you're not going to get that mark that easily. You have to state something from the exam guideline and link it to the case study. It's usually 0 marks or 2, and that is why life science is such a difficult subject to get your distinction in or to get your marks in, because you go from 100% to 0. There's no 50. So please make sure explain is the one word that you highlight, and you make sure you write everything. Give it to the marker to find that mark. So if they say there's less chance of survival, you must explain why. Why? Because the gametes cannot get to one another, or because the water can take them away from one another, or there's many predators in the water. So explain, go and see what they have. And also less protection. Why? In an amniotic egg, we have the shell. But external fertilization, usually in water, we do not have a shell. You will see there, they are not going to be protected that much. So make sure again the word explain. Then internal is inside. So we have the fact that there's going to be a male and a female, and they will have to get together. Make sure again, read through your case study, what do they say? If they say male and female get together, you know, okay, inside or internal fertilization. Less gametes because they are protected. They are protected by the female body. So that's a lot of protection that we get there, and therefore they have more chance of survival. Okay, the moment we have fertilization, we want to know, are the female or the male, be careful for the seahorse, they like that one, eh? But who is going to carry it, or what are they going to do with the zygote? What is going to happen with it afterwards? So are they going to lay an egg outside and let it develop outside of the body? Are they going to have the egg inside of them and then deposit the egg? That's the words that you are looking for. Or are they just going to keep it inside of the uterus and then give live birth? Make sure that you go through old papers. There is a very nice website, www.mindstream.co.za. You can go to Life Science, FET, and you will see there's old papers with their memos as well. So that you get used to the way that they ask. This is your first big exam for matric, and then it's only 2 left. So make sure you understand the type of words we use in an exam paper. Okay, if we are going to look at laying an egg, we want to know that there is a shell on the outside. We are going to look at the amniotic egg now, so we have to have or be able to feed the embryo until they can develop. If we are looking into ovivivipary, we are going to see that the eggs are kept for a little bit and then they are deposited together. If they are deposited together, it means that they have a higher chance of survival. We get shark's eggs like that, and then of course internal fertilization with vivipare. There we are going to have the umbilical cord that's going to feed the fetus. The amniotic egg, you will see that I only put the main things. We want on our memos, or no, we want. On our memos, this is what there's going to be. We are going to want you to know that the chorion is there for gas exchange. That's it. The amnion has fluid inside. Fluid is always for protection, but then always for mechanical damage, temperature, and dehydration. So you cannot just tell me it's for protection. You must tell me protection against what? So make sure you say the things that they are protected from. The Atlantis waste products are kept there, and then also gas exchange with the shell on the outside. And then there's something that's important with precocial and altricial development. The size of the egg. The bigger the egg, the longer the development period. Why? Because you have more nourishment. So the moment they get out of the egg, they can run, they are protected, they are fine, their eyes are open. The smaller the egg, the bigger the chances are they are going to have parental care, because they are not going to have that much nourishment. Make sure that you link your whole syllabus together. Don't just do one thing at a time. Make sure that you interlink. Also, please, we love our diagrams in life science. You know we do. So make sure that you always have a diagram with you the moment you are going to study, and that you are able to label them and always give all of their functions. Okay. You have, this is in Mind the Gap. This is from Mind the Gap. I don't know if your teachers still give you Mind the Gap. It's a little bit, it doesn't have all the things that we have to know. but it has all the basics and it has very, very, very nice summaries like this. So this is just a summary of everything that you have to know. Remember, this is only 14 marks, so it is not a big part of our paper 1. The difference between precocial and altricial, I just want to state one thing. You can't say they are covered, because we want to know that you know it's a bird, they are covered with down, or you know this is a rat, they are covered with fur, or we want you to be able to say they are not covered with down or fur. If you go and see or go through old memos, make sure that you see where the tick are in life science. It's after a full sentence. Usually, if you're a teacher, you just go through the biological terms and you make sure your children know this, this, this. But biology wants full sentences. So you must write all the way. So eyes are open, that's fine. Body is covered, is not fine just like it is. Make sure you go all the way covered with what? They are all able to move, feed themselves. That makes them independent. But you can't just say they're independent. Why are they independent? Because they're able to do all those things. And then do you see the 6 mark? It's about the amount of energy that the egg provided. So make sure that you link them together, please. We also know that in biology you will give or either a case study or a picture like this. So make sure that you know you must go through your pictures as well. That's the end of vertebra, or the 14 marks. If you go to human reproduction, it is so easy, but you have to, or not easy to get the marks, but you have to study it exactly as it is in the exam guideline. Please guys, the exam guideline is your Bible for biology. Make sure you have it with you at all times. Make sure you tick everything off. We give the diagrams and we ask letter or name and function. The problem is it's 2 marks, 2 marks, 2 marks, 2 marks. So get yourself a diagram. Make sure that you are able to label it yourself. Go and draw it. Always, always, always. After you have a class, go and draw it by yourself. That's the best advice that I can give you. But we always start at the beginning. The scrotum on the outside is always for protection. Anything on the outside you start with, it's for protection. But then, very important for male reproductive system, the temperature. It's 2 to 3 degrees lower than body temperature. It's not 2 to 3 degrees, you will freeze off. It's 2 to 3 degrees lower than body temperature. Why? Sperm is a protein. If a protein gets too hot, it will denaturate. So it means it will lose its function and it will not be able to fertilize. That's its function. So always link it together with your grade 10 protein and make sure that you know why temperature is kept the way it is. The testes, the seminal vesicle, the prostate, and the Cowper's gland, you will see that all of them are in red. Why? They produce semen. So if they ask you, and I'm sorry about that, I see now that there's a spelling mistake, but if they ask you what is going to help to create semen, you must make sure that those are the 4 glands. What is going to happen if I have a vasectomy? We are going to cut it through here. All the other glands are on the other side. So you will still have semen without sperm. The important thing to remember there is you will still be able to get diseases, but you will not be able to get fertilized. So just make sure that we always in biology must be able to answer in the negative as well. What if this happens? What if the temperature goes too high? The male testes will not be able to produce optimum sperm, and therefore we will not be able to have optimal fertilization. So make sure about the negative. If we go and what's in our exam guidelines, see spermatogenesis, you must answer it exactly as it is. It is marked, it is labeled in your exam guideline. Spermatogenesis takes place under influence of testosterone, inner seminiferous tubules in the testes. Your diploid germinal epithelial cells undergo meiosis to form haploid sperm cells. That's 4 marks that you are going to have. And then what is the 5th mark? The heading. Make sure that you always start with heading. They are going to ask what process is going to happen here. The heading is 1 mark that you are going to have also for the 5th one. Then, female reproduction, you are going to have to, you must be able to draw a sperm. Always, and you must know all the functions. The acrosome especially, because it's going to neutralize, and then make sure that you say it's a haploid sperm. Every time you say it's a haploid nucleus or a haploid sperm. Oogenesis, same thing in your exam guideline, it is stated just as it is, and again you must be able to draw it. I think I gave, or I put in a drawing, no. Please make sure we give marks to haploid nucleus, the cytoplasm, and the cell membrane. Those are the 3 things that's important. So those are the 3 we want you. We are not at all, the corona radiata is not important anymore, and this zona pellucida is also not important. It's just the nucleus, the cytoplasm, and the cell membrane. And of course, headings. If you start a diagram or you're going to draw a table, be careful, grade 12s. The newest thing is we give the graph and we want a table. You must also have a heading because obviously the 1st mark goes for heading. Then you will see at the beginning the amount of marks that was accredited for the endocrine system is a lot. We only have this one picture, this one. And it's I think it's 24 marks. They are not going to be able to do that. So they are going to ask the female negative feedback because then they can make up those marks. They love the graphs, they love the pictures. We must be able to know that we all have progesterone. We all have it at all times. So the moment we see something like progesterone, we must state in our answers that it will increase. Not it will just go up, we always have, so there will be an increase in the level. Or the level will decrease. But it will never ever be 0. No graph will ever start at 0. Because you do not have 0 estrogen or 0 progesterone. We do not have 0 FSH or LH. So we must say that the pituitary gland will be stimulated to secrete more FSH. Then we start with the word FSH. Because of the increase of FSH, there will be development of follicles. The development of follicles will lead to estrogen that will be secreted. We start with the word that we ended with. The secretion of estrogen will go or make the estrogen levels to rise. This will stimulate the endometrium to develop. Grade 12, make sure that the word that you end with is the word that you start with. That is where you usually will lose your marks. Because you can't say, that will. We want to know that you know what specific hormone will have an influence. This is the type of pictures that you can expect. I'm not saying it's going to be this one or this, but you will see in your own textbooks, you will see in the examples that you got, this is the type of things that we see. So here you will see is the whole negative feedback. I'm not saying it's going to be in there, but I have a gut feeling that it's going to be a good question to ask. So you will see the whole time there's the high level or the increased level of one hormone and the influence. Remember with your hormones, the endocrine that we are going to do at the end, we always want to know what is the gland or what is going to make the hormone be secreted, like the follicles or the corpus luteum. We want to know what the target organ is, where is it going to go, and then we want to know what is going to happen there. So always ask yourself, did I answer all of those questions at the end? Fertilization on itself, always important to know the definition of fertilization. Again, definitions in biology is 2 marks. So where is it happening, what is happening, and what is the product there? So fertilization in short just means that we have an haploid ovum and a haploid sperm cell, and they are going to fertilize to become a diploid zygote, sorry. And then, of course, very important, we form sperms and we form ovums through meiosis. But the moment you want to grow and develop, we use mitosis. Make sure that you know the ball of cells is called the marula. This is the first part there. And then, of course, the moment that is hollow on the inside, which is actually the start of your mouth and your anus, the start of your digestive system, that moment, yeah, there it is. There's your mouth and your anus, the beginning. That is called the blastula. And then the moment they embed in the endometrium, we start to speak of an embryo and later on a fetus. Okay. People, the placenta are very important. It's extremely important to know the placenta. It is extremely important to know the functions and the function they are going to have throughout gestation. Remember, it's called gestation for 40 weeks. So our fetus, of course, must be protected. Again, the same as with the amniotic egg. It's protected against temperature change, dehydration, mechanical injuries, but then also it gives the amniotic fluid for embryo, gives them a chance to move. Why is it important for them to move? They must build muscle. They must develop. They can ask you why it is important. Then the chorionic villi and endometrium forming the umbilical cord. Very important that you know that the vein is the one that carries the oxygen. It's the only, except for the pulmonary in the lungs, it's the only vein that carries oxygen and nutrients. They like you to draw, or not tabulate the difference between the vein and the artery. And remember, it's umbilical cord or umbilical artery, because in life science they will say we have many arteries and we have many veins. So they want to know which one it is. Okay, then we go to the central nervous system. Central nervous system you have done in this term, it's new work, or not new work, but it's fresh. We must make sure that we know all the parts of the brain, but then very important that we know the function. Because they will ask you, give the letter and name that is going to be responsible for heart rate. Or give the letter and the name that's going to be responsible for balance. So that is the way they usually ask it. They can just ask you to label it. And if we are going to go and look at the central nervous system, we must also make sure that we know how it is going, or what is going to protect it. So remember, there's the meninges, that's a biological term, and then also our spinal cord, that's going to be a protection. The autonomic nervous system, meaning you're going to react to your environment, always the motor neuron is so important. We must be able to draw it. Please, that's one of the things that we want you to be able to draw. And then the reflex reaction. Make sure that you know what is the difference between the reaction and the pathway. So the moment we use a receptor and we are going to react to it without thinking, because it's not going to the cerebrum but only to the spinal cord, we call it a reflex reaction. Why will something like that happen? Because you want to protect yourself, always. So make sure you can be able to identify the receptor, but then also the biological terms here is so important. We must be able to say, okay, the receptor is going to receive a stimuli, and it's going to turn it into an impulse. But then we must use the word impulse. Again, we must start with the word that we ended with. The impulse will go through the sensory nerve, and then it will go into the spinal cord, with the synapse to the interneuron. The impulse will go to the motor neuron. The motor neuron will take the impulse to the effector. Again, grade 12, I'm sorry, this is life science. If they have a muscle like this, you must say to the muscle. If they have a gland, you must say to the gland. If they didn't state, it's to the effector. But you must use the picture they give you or the example they give you. You can't use your own. Then with the eye, people just make sure that you know each and every part of the eye, that you know what the function is and what I do. But also, make sure that you know the difference between the lens and the sclera, or that you know what the lens is able to do. So the cornea on the outside is the first part that we have for refracts light, and that is also astigmatism, the one disease that you have to know. If your cornea is not angled right, then you will have a problem there. The aqua humor on the outside. Remember, aqua is water, and what do you cry? You cry water. So which one is on the outside? The aqueous humor. The pupil that the light travels through. Then the iris is important because it can open and close our pupil. So always remember, you can use your hand to think how the iris will work. If you are going to go and see how light is regulated, we are going to go to the pupil mechanism. You will see it's also on your notes that we handed out. The lens is so important. Make sure you know light can travel through it. It is able to accommodate for vision that's closer or further away. We will get to that as well, but the lens is very important. Make sure of it, please. Then our vitreous humor just helps to break our light, obviously, onto our yellow spot. Please, you must say it will go onto the yellow spot and we will have a clear image. And then you will end your answer. And then, of course, the optic nerve will will transport the impulse to the cerebrum, which will interpret what you see. Then the sclera itself, remember I said that you must know the difference between a lens and the sclera. It's white. The lens is going to be, it's not white, it's going to be clear. It's inelastic, where your lens is elastic. So I like to ask you to tabulate differences between things that you will not always think is possible. So there you will see I just put one in like this, the difference between the structural function of the lens. It is elastic because it can accommodate. It is transparent to allow light rays to pass through, and it is biconvex to refract light. You see, this is explain kind of questions. That's the 0 or 2 kind of questions. We want to know how it looks and why. What is the function behind it? Okay. Make sure with a pupil mechanism that you know the stimuli is light. The moment I say anything about a lighter room, a darker room, less light, more light, anything about light, you take your paper and you write pupil mechanism. Then you go through the rest of the question. You really can use your hand. And always remember, grade 12, you only learn one of the bright light or dim light. You don't study the other one. You just tell yourself it's going to be the other side around. So the radial muscles in bright light of the iris is going to relax. Please mark the word iris. If you just say radial muscles will relax, the mark will not be allocated. Then the circular muscles of the iris contract. Again, You will think I already stated the word iris. It doesn't matter. The marker will only mark according to the memo. And there must be iris, and it will probably be in bold. So what will the pupil do? Please do not say it will get smaller. It will constrict, and less light enters the eye. Always remember to write until the end. Because you will think, okay, I already have 3 marks, it's only 3 allocated on the paper. You don't know which 3 marks is allocated on the memo. So make sure of that. And then, of course, if you have studied this one, you will just use the opposite of it if you want it for dim light. They have asked that you must draw it. Make sure you can do a drawing of a pupil in dark or in bright light. Then this is the one that I don't know why all my classes always, they have a struggle with accommodation. Remember the stimuli here is distance. If they say you're walking towards or you're walking backwards, you are looking up to a clock or you are looking on your table, that's distance. The moment you see the word distance, you make sure that you write there eye accommodation. And then again, we only study one, either further than 6 meters or closer than 6 meters, and you make sure that you're able to do the opposite for that. Please make sure that you know the lengths, and you must know the suspensory ligaments, and then of course the ciliary muscle, where they are and what they are called. Because we can ask it, of course, with a diagram and then tell you to give us eye accommodation. Grade 12, this is something that you must sit down, you must study, but then you must close your book and you must write it out. If you have someone that can mark it for you, please hand it to them, because it must be exactly like that. You're going to study it exactly as it is and write it down. We must be able to know the diseases of our eye, and then of course how we are going to fix it. So if you are going to see short-sightedness, this is this one here, you will see that the eye is not able to break the light so that it falls on the yellow spot. So it falls in front, too short, remember? But then long-sightedness, this one here, it will break it too much, and it will mean that it will fall behind the yellow spot, too far. So make sure that you understand your diagrams with your definitions, and then please that you know which kind of lenses they will use and why. So this one is concave, that's the word that we want, and this one is convex. Please don't use, if we are talking about the lens, we say that it is more convex or less convex. The only place that because a lens cannot be concave. But if they give you lenses from optometrists, then we can use the word concave. Okay. If you come to hearing or the ear, there's just 2 things, hearing and balance. You must be able to label, but then very important, we ask the path of sound. So you just start at the outside and you tell me this is the way that my sound wave will travel. Please make sure that on the outside we talk about a sound wave. The moment it gets to the tympanum, we are talking about a vibration. So from there on, the endolymph will also vibrate. The cochlea, the organ of Corti, will be vibrating, and therefore the hair cells will get the stimuli, and then obviously it will be converted into an impulse. With the ear, it's very important to remember, hearing goes to the cerebrum. And then when we get to balance, it will go to the cerebellum, because that's their functions. The thing that I want to stress here is the Eustachian tube, obviously there. it is going to, or it will equalize pressure normally on both sides of the tympanum. But the moment it is blocked, no air, it's one of those negative kind of questions. So you see here that I put it in because we know they like to ask it. I'm not saying they are going to, but they like to ask this. The moment it is blocked, air will not be able to travel through. Therefore, it will not be able to equalize the pressure on both sides of the tympanum. So what is the problem here? First of all, the ossicles will not vibrate because now they're blocked. The tympanum cannot vibrate, so they will not vibrate on their best, and therefore you will not hear, or you will hear the sound, but it will not be clearly. The other thing they can ask you, are you going to be able to skydive? No, because the amount of pressure from the outside will not be equalized, and therefore the tympanum can get hurt. Balance, of course, we are going to have two different things there. So please make sure that you see it is direction and speed. That's the first thing. If you go through your question, please hear me say, make sure what kind of balance they asked. If it is direction and speed, it is going to be about the crista. So please just mark those words for you together. If it is about the position of your head, it is about the macula. Grade 12, if you are going to write this whole thing as it is, and they only ask for the position of the head, they will draw a line after the first 4 answers and you will get nothing. So please make sure that you read through it. If they say you changed the position of your head or they nodded or anything like that, it's going to be about the macula, and it's going to be always, of course, through the auditory nerve to the cerebellum. Make sure you're going to say that the stimuli will be sent to the skeletal muscles, not only muscles, because we have a lot of different types of muscles. But if they say you're going to run faster or you're going to run in a different direction, make sure it's about the crista. And then, of course, to the same cerebellum, same thing we are going to say, it's going to go to the skeletal muscles. So this question is 2 different parts. We also have to have the hearing defects, just like with the eye and everything else. So middle ear infection, we can have antibiotics. And then, of course, this is a biological term. We insert grommets. Where do we insert it? In the tympanum. Make sure that you know where it's going to be inserted. Okay. The last part, I hope all of your schools have already started with endocrine system. If you have not, please make sure with your teacher, if you're going to write about it in this exam, there are schools that only takes out that part, but most of the schools are trying to finish up. Because the more time you spend writing about it, the better you get with it. So the endocrine system is really only this diagram. We want you to know what a gland is, what a hormone is. We want you to know which glands are going to secrete which kind of hormone. And then, of course, the target organ that it's going to hit and what is going to happen there. I hope that you all remember your grade 11 work, because the endocrine system was done, a lot of it in grade 11. So if you're going to have a look, the difference between an endocrine and an exocrine gland, endo always means inside. So endo means it's going to be into the blood. Where exo means outside, it's outside the blood. So it is in tubulus, and then very, very important, the definition of a hormone. What is a hormone? And there's something I want to state here that's important to me. It's a chemical messenger, so it works very much longer than your sensory system, but then please remember it's a protein. The moment you hear the word protein, you must remember they are sensitive to temperature, they are sensitive to pH levels. So they are not going to work optimally if we are not going to have the right temperature or pH level. And then you must know that they are secreted by glands and they act on target organs. So they can't just go everywhere, they must go to a target organ. Okay, if we start here, please make sure that you go through every gland. You know the name of the hormone. So I'm just going to start there on the top. The hypothalamus we did in grade 11. ADH means the target organ is going to be the kidney or the nephron of the kidney. And what is going to happen? Less water is going to be excreted because more water is reabsorbed. We absorb it inside our digestive system, we reabsorb it into the bloodstream. Please make sure about the word reabsorb. Then the pituitary gland. We use the word pituitary gland rather. Please make sure that you know that's the master gland. They did ask in one of the papers last year, I think September, which gland is the master gland. It hasn't been in papers for so long, so you can't say its name is the master gland, but if we ask, we want to know it's the pituitary gland. This is the one with the most hormones, and that is why. So it basically controls the whole body. Growth hormone means it goes to all the places you have to grow. Skeletal muscles, your bones, your whole body. TSH is going to stimulate the thyroid gland, and of course then the thyroid gland is going to make your metabolism go faster or slower. Then if we are going to look at these three, you did it with your reproductive system. So that is why I say I think they are going to have to come up with the marks from somewhere, and it's probably going to be FSH or LH. FSH you did is the development of the follicles, and the development of the follicles, of course, are going to help us to get estrogen again. And then LH is going to give us a corpus luteum, which is going to help us get progesterone. So this is linked together. Make sure that you know they are linked together, please. Prolactin is on the end of gestation, just before, or if you are going to give birth, prolactin is going to be released because it's going to give milk production. I already spoke about the thyroid gland. Just remember the hormone's name is thyroxine, and it's going to go everywhere in your body because your whole metabolism is going to increase or decrease. Then if you get to the pancreas, grade 12, it's important that you remember it was done in grade 11. It's actually done now, this time of year. So you must know it's the pancreas, the islets of Langerhans. You must know which cells and which hormone they are going to secrete. Then I just want to make sure, I'm not sure if it's on here. If it is glucagon or insulin, it's going to go to the liver and the cells, because most of the textbooks only state liver, but the memos say the liver and the cells. So make sure that you write it in somewhere, and if you have your notes at home or you have a textbook, make sure that you write it completely. What are they going to do? If it's glucagon, they are going to release glucose by converting glycogen into glucose. And those three words you must be able to spell, because in English they are so close together that if you make a spelling mistake, they will say you are not able to write, or you don't know the biological term. So you see how close they are. Please make sure that you know them. Insulin, of course, if it goes to the liver and the cells, it's going to take the glucose and convert it into glycogen, which will be stored, and therefore our levels will decrease, and then of course we will say go back to normal. The testes you were already done with the male reproductive system. It gives testosterone or in the testes, if you go for it, it's the cells of Leydig. They are going to give the testosterone, so just make sure that you also know about it. And then the adrenal glands, that's the only ones we haven't done now. Please, there's two different hormones. And the first one, adrenaline, we have to know what is going to happen because it links with our nervous system. How are you going to react if something happens now? What part of your body is going to be stimulated and what part of your body is going to not have a lot of blood or oxygen. You're not going to think about food when you're running away from a lion because he's thinking of you as food. So you are going to have your pupils dilated, your heart rate will increase, but ask yourself why. In grade 10, we did learn or we did study that the heart gives us blood. Blood is oxygen. Oxygen means there's an increase in respiration. We have more energy. But with more energy, we have more carbon dioxide. The blood also takes away more carbon dioxide. Where does it take it? To the lungs. So what must happen? There must be an increase in our, I just want to make sure, it doesn't state here the muscles or the breathing muscles. But the diaphragm will have to increase the speed so that we can have more carbon dioxide excreted as well. Grade 12, and that is paper 1 in, what, 45 minutes? 40 minutes. Is there any questions or anything that you want to know? No. Grade 12, study hard. Make sure that you read through your questions from the top. That's where the problems lie. Thank you so much.